Hello and welcome to the Wedding Guide podcast. I'm your host, Pete the Celebrant, and we are proudly sponsored by Easy Weddings. Easy Weddings helps thousands of couples nail their big day every year. With their award-winning directory and mobile apps, you can find and book top-rated wedding suppliers, stay on track with their planning tools, or for a more hands-off approach, work with a wedding planner to save you time and money. The best thing, it's all free. Jump on to easyweddings.com.au to start your stress-free journey up the aisle today. Joining us for the episode is Annie Moz. She's a marriage celebrant, mentor, MC, DJ, singer, and creator of Unholy Matrimony. Annie shares with us all about how Unholy Matrimony helps couples break through the stereotypical wedding styles of today, and then we discuss how she's been helping couples during the COVID guidelines up in Queensland. Allow me to introduce you to the very talented Annie Moz. I'm here with Annie Moz all the way from the Gold Coast, and we've been talking what feels like for a good half an hour already just about all the incredible things that Annie does. So Annie, why don't you tell us, well, we're going to go into a few different areas because you have your hands in many wedding wonderful pies. Tell us a little bit about your celebrant business, and why don't you tell us about everything that you do, and then we'll delve into them a little later.
Okay. Hello. Well, it feels weird because we've been talking for so long now and I've just been telling you all about these things, but your audience is not privy to this information. So I'll relay it again. Cool. My celebrant business is Celebrant Lady Love and began about 8 years ago with just me out on the wedding circuit, you know, delivering ceremonies, and that was as far as it went. And over the years it's developed and demand has grown for the Lady Love flavour. So I've recruited a couple of other celebrants now who work alongside me. I've got Sarah in Sydney. She runs the Sydney end of the operation, and I've got Anna in Byron Bay. And then I'm in the Gold Coast, Brisbane region. So we all are celebrants and we are all MCs as well. So we can stay on to MC the reception. And the other part of the Lady Love business that's expanded is that it also offers music as well. So I'm a DJ and part of an acoustic duo. So sometimes couples will ask me to stay on after the ceremony, and we'll do a 2 or 3 hour acoustic set, and then I'll set up the decks and I'll DJ until close, and MC sometimes as well. So those nights can be quite mental. And quite exhausting, but really fun as well. Yeah. And I love the DJing side of it. Can you see this sun?
Yeah, I was going to say it's getting some rays. There we go. Now we can see clearly.
So yeah, there's that. That's so sort of the music and the celebranting and all of that's all sort of tied in with the Lady Love brand. And then I run a magazine called Unholy Matrimony, which celebrates weddings that are move away from the white wedding traditional, I guess, expectations that are placed on people and that people find difficult to break away from, I think. So yeah, the magazine celebrates and showcases weddings that are brave enough and bold enough to be different. It leans very much into a darker aesthetic. We've got lots of our couples wearing black instead of white or red, or lots of our couples still wear traditional colors, but they might do things on their day which are untraditional. We don't have any kind of a mold or anything that we've set out that you have to look this way or do this certain thing in order to be featured in our magazine. Or we just know we just love couples who dare to be different and who are bold enough to embrace their own individuality and express themselves express themselves freely on their wedding day.
Well, I remember because I think Sheena and Tristan, one of my couples, have either been part or at some point being part of Unholy Matrimony. And when we did their wedding, they wanted something like big and different. Like if you meet Sheena, her personality is like, she's big, she's incredible, she's not in your face, but like she stands out when you meet her. She's from the US as well. She's great. And she was like, can you wear something a little bit more darker? And I'm thinking, sure. And I realized I've got white shirts. So I had to go and buy like a darker shirt, because there's very much more an expectation of this cleaner white wedding. I don't know how to even put it, but I love that Unholy Matrimony celebrates the other side, because that's not everyone's jam.
Yeah. And I think the reason that I sort of decided that the world needed Unholy Matrimony was because I myself needed it. And, I clocked up around 400 or 500 weddings when I sort of got to this point, and I realized that I was starting to feel a little bit underwhelmed.
Sure.
Like I just felt like everybody was sharing the same Pinterest board. And it wasn't that I'd rock up to a wedding and be like, oh, here we go again, right on a wheel kind of thing. It wasn't like that. I just couldn't understand why everybody was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, why? Maybe there's not enough inspiration out there for people to know. Like, you don't know what you don't know. So unless we show people another way, unless we say, hey, you actually have permission to do it this way, your wedding can be different to this. You don't have to wear white. You don't have to be walked down the aisle by a parent. You don't have to have a wedding party. You don't need bridesmaids. You don't need groomsmen. You can wear whatever you want. Your wedding can look however you want it to look, and it can feel however you want it to feel. So, when I was arriving at each wedding, I was thinking, but all of these weddings look and feel the same. So yeah, I just creatively, I wanted an outlet for my own artistic expression, and the magazine most certainly gives me that. It gives me the opportunity to write and to connect with couples on a different level. But outside of that, I wanted to give people license to step back from those societal expectations that are so often placed on them, and to reassess and work out what they really want. And if they see something, and it might not be, they might not open the magazine and go, oh, I want to wear a crystal crown and a black dress and do this. But what they might just see one element of something, like maybe they'll see a floral arrangement that they particularly like, and they might have never considered to have those kinds of colors before, or whatever it is. Even if through the fabric of the wedding, I guess the wedding, what do you call it when somebody's taped up? Like I feel like
taped
I felt
up
like
at a wedding,
gagged. Like I feel like people have been gagged.
The mic broke up for a little bit, so okay.
I feel like previously, like we've all been like there was this thing where couples would enter into the wedding market taped and gagged.
Sure.
They all had this way that they were supposed to be, and it doesn't have to be like that.
I feel like just the title "Taped and Gagged" could be a great section for Unholy Matrimony. I'm sure it would have a section there for it. So that's why you started it. So you definitely want something. You wanted to see you can do different, and for yourself, it was a creative outlet. For other couples who wanted something different, it was to give them ideas, give them inspiration. So what is because I think issue 4 is coming out in...
Yes. It's coming. It's going to be out for Christmas. So great little thing to put under the Christmas tree.
Yep.
I think issue 4 is, it's the issue I'm most excited about because it's so different and it's so, there are so many great stories in issue 4. We're calling it the Love Recovery edition with COVID-19, Love Recovered 19 it looks much better when in written format.
Yeah, I'm sure it will look great.
So we feel like this is the issue that that's bringing us out on the other side of COVID-19. It's celebrating all of the love stories that still took place in the most difficult year that I can recall in my own personal history, and certainly in the history of the wedding industry. I never anticipated in a million years that a pandemic could hit and that I'd be postponing 60 couples from 2020, 60 weddings from this year into next year.
Yeah.
I don't think that any of us could ever have fathomed that was even a possibility until suddenly it was a reality, and there's us that exists on this side of that, and we're running our businesses, and that's obviously we're taking the financial impacts of that were heavy, but beyond that, the emotional impacts for our couples and in turn for us were heavier, I think. And so many couples really hung on and fought to get married against all odds through this pandemic. And that's what this issue celebrates. It's it really shows there were just the standout couples for me throughout this entire process were those couples who came to me and they said, we know we can't have a wedding anymore, but we have to get married. We want to be married. And whatever parameters they had to work within in order to make that happen. It just said so much about love and about the whole reason why I do this job and the whole reason why I love doing this job. So that's what this issue is going to celebrate. Go.
No, sorry. I just wanted to, maybe it would be good to mention, because you were mentioning to me with the magazines, just the quality, because this you put so much into this. I really want people who are just even a little bit interested to really take a deeper look at Unholy Matrimony. So tell us, I'll let you finish that sentence. Sorry for cutting you off, but the quality of just like what people are getting. This could be a great gift as well for people.
Yeah. So look, I can't even measure the number of hours that I pour into this magazine and that our artistic director, Sophie, pours into it. But it is a fine art magazine. The submissions that we accept are of the highest quality. The photographers that work on these weddings are artists. The stories that we write about the couples it's not like we send couples a questionnaire and then the article is in a question and answer format, copied and pasted. My other love is writing. So I spend hours and hours putting together articles that are actually interesting to read and try really hard to uncover the stories behind these weddings of the couples who are getting married. That's the part I love about celebrancy, writing people's stories. And it's the part that I love about putting the magazine together as well. Learning about the stories of these people who are getting married and the circumstances that led them to that point where they were ready to do that. And also with this issue, my God, just the obstacles that they came up against in order to get married. So this issue is really cool. And it's beautiful. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. The imagery is just like, I'm so excited. It's really, the hardest part for me at this point is not leaking anything. So, we've got we've got our Instagram page,
Yeah.
which we do offer sneak peeks on. So if you want to get like little teasers and a little bit of an idea, you can find us on Instagram at Unholy Matrimony _ And yeah, it's really like sometimes I would literally have to walk away from my computer and stop myself from sharing it because images are so cool. People getting married in old abandoned jails, on the side of a cliff, down alleyways, and with masks on, like with just two witnesses present in the back streets of Melbourne or Geelong. Like, I don't know, there are just so many, because of the way in which these weddings were forced to take place. Like, for example, there was one that happened in Sydney, in Lithgow.
I think it's Lithgow.
Lithgow. And it was at the State Mine, and originally it was supposed to be this big warehouse party, but because they couldn't have the dance floor and the party vibe, they had a sit-down thing, but then they had these amazing bands come and play, like Ruby Fields played, and they just had this really cool, like, lavish banquet-style feasting with their mates. And then when you take away the party component of a wedding, suddenly the biggest and most important component becomes the actual marriage and the wedding, like the actual process of getting and being there with you just to celebrate exactly that. And so that people become...
Sorry, just the sound cut out a little bit there. We're dealing with a little bit of lag. We heard up to people are, because they can't celebrate with others, the focus of really being getting married.
Yeah, so the focus has shifted from the aesthetics and the party, the reception and the party and the dance floor, to the actual ceremony and the event of becoming a married couple. And everybody who's there is just happy to be there, just happy to be able to share in each other's company. And, all of the couples who I speak to just talk about how much love there was at their wedding, and how it was just such a celebration of family and closeness and community. And I think that through COVID, before COVID happened, we all took that kind of stuff for granted. Yeah. And when it's taken away from you and then you get it back, you just appreciate it so much more. I know for you guys in Melbourne, you've done it harder than anyone else, and I'm sure you can attest that being away from friends and family has probably been the hardest part.
It's been rough. It's been rough for a lot of people. It is nice though. Now, today is the 11th, and very slowly we're able to actually get out and see more and more people, and we're looking forward to end of November. We didn't even think go across borders. Unreal.
Amazing. And 100 people at weddings soon.
I know. Look, I think everyone's looking forward to not being the joke of the nation. That would be nice.
You were never the joke of the nation. But I do think you were the pity of the nation. Like,
that's more true. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, everybody felt very sorry. And nobody wants to have people feeling sorry for them, but we're like, God, you guys were locked down. That was hardcore. Yeah.
It's been very, like you said, in terms of things you'd never expect. And this is just one of those, you can't, it'll be interesting just to explain it to people. It's like, you literally couldn't go further than 5 kilometers. Just, you weren't allowed to. That's just such a weird concept.
Yeah. Well, so we only had that for 6 weeks, really.
Yeah.
We had 6 weeks of that. And, outside of that, we closed our borders and our case numbers were so low that, once that little outbreak was contained here and dealt with, we haven't seen it come back. So I feel very, very lucky to have been in this state through the pandemic. But that's not to say that it hasn't affected my business or that it hasn't affected my couples. Like I said, 60 couples were forced to postpone. We've only just had dance floors reopen. That's for 40 people.
Yeah.
From 1st of November, 40 people are now allowed on dance floors. And from 1st of December, we can have up to 100 people on dance floors. So social distancing stuff we're allowed to mingle again now. That's as of 1st of November. People are up and mingling. You don't have to stay seated. So weddings feel kind of normal again, and it's really cool. I mean, I was laughing because when they announced that as of 1st of November you could have 40 people on a dance floor, I was thinking about like how they would choose those 40. Like you got 100 people at a wedding, and I was imagining them like holding auditions. We had to send him, if you're going to be if you're going to be on the dance floor, send your audition tape to Annie at unholymatrimony.com by this date. We'll let you know if you're
make
in
the cut.
Second round, make the cut. Yep. And we might have to hold a second round of auditions. No dance partners. You have to full solo.
Yeah, right. So this is what I want to talk about, because, and this is for all couples, I think particularly Victorian couples, as we are only just beginning to look at the possibility of having weddings with more than 10 people. Currently in Gold Coast, how many people can you have at a wedding?
100.
100. Okay. And then dance floors you can now have 40. Did I hear that correct?
40. Yeah, 40
Yep.
on dance floors. And then from the 1st of November, from the 1st of December, we can have unlimited numbers on dance floors. And I think that the numbers on wedding restrictions lift entirely then as well.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, from the weddings that you've done, because there's obviously still been restrictions at certain times, what are some things that have changed, or that maybe you've done more of or less of, to try and give couples ideas for different situations they might find themselves in?
Yeah, this is a really great question, particularly for those who are still in a situation where their ability to enjoy their days impeded by restrictions. We really had to think outside the box. I think daytime weddings have become a really popular choice now. I've got couples who are booking in to do 10 or 11 o'clock ceremonies, and then they're having outdoor lunches or picnics.
Yeah, nice.
Really lavish style picnics with garden games, and they're partying and drinking throughout the day. So that by the time it's the evening, they're sort of, everybody heads home for tea and whatever, but the partying and everything happens throughout the day. And then the dance floor doesn't feel like it's missing because it's been a daytime event.
Yeah.
And everybody's had the opportunity to sort of move around and mingle and play croquet and whatever.
100%. Everyone wants croquet. Finally, we can bring it back into the weddings.
So there's that. I mean, when I most of my couples pulled the pin on the DJing and the music aspect of their booking with me.
Yeah.
But I did do 2 weddings where I stayed on after the ceremony and DJ'd and MC'd. And I guess that those weddings were, I can't really say that I was a DJ. I very much felt like it was a night at the pub and I was running it. But I think that was cool. I think that if I hadn't have been there, it would have, the whole environment probably would have been a bit stale, actually, because at that point everybody had to remain seated. There was no mingling. You couldn't even sort of move around. You couldn't have anyone on the dance floor. It was very strict, and venues were really, really strict about it because it's their livelihood that's at stake. If anybody, even if somebody gets up and has a little bit of a boogie with someone else and someone films it on their phone and posts it in their stories, and then they tag the location, next thing you know, that venue gets a fine. So one thing that I noticed was that phones, or a presence of phones, was reduced, and that was a nice thing to notice. People were talking a lot more because people weren't dancing and getting so drunk, and that there was less opportunity for people to just kind of film things that were going on. Everyone was just sitting down, so everyone was really engaged in conversation. But we did things like, so I would take requests for songs, and I would, any request, on the proviso that whoever made the request would give an interpretive dance performance with the request. So you're allowed to have one person, no dance floors, but you could have one person up dancing.
Nice.
So we did lots of games like trivia. We did trivia about the couples that I was marrying, and we did like the shoe game and things like that. Lots of the, I think that, the things that I normally encourage people not to do at their receptions because it cuts into their dance floor time. I'm like, no, you don't do that. You know, less formalities, less games. You just want to party. And in those times I was telling people the exact opposite. I'm like, you need this. You're going to need something to entertain people. You need something for people to engage with and be entertained by. So games came back in a big way.
Yeah. So do you feel like that will then begin to change as people can, dance floors come back?
Yeah.
That will then just do a bit of a reverse?
People are itching to have a dance.
Yeah.
Everybody has got such a strong sense of longing to get back on the dance floor. And everybody needs it. Like, we just need that release. I feel like that's the best possible medicine that we could all have right now is, you know, a bit of a boogie, a couple of beers and a bit of a boogie. I just, I'm really looking forward to the next wedding that I'm DJing, because it'll be the first one where people will be able to dance again. So yeah, I'm really, really excited about that. That's not to say the ones that I did previously without a dance floor felt as though they were lacking in any way. They just felt different. It was a different kind of a celebration. But every single one of those couples came out saying it was the best night of their life. You know, it was just celebrated in a different way. So
some of the things games have been a big one, and particularly for that role at the reception. And it sounds, I think you mentioned it, you were more of an entertainer, trivia host / DJ / MC.
Yeah, I felt very much like a host, like I was hosting a big dinner party and going around and asking lots of questions. And I really encouraged people to speak about the couple. And it was, I think in that sense, if anybody who's considering dropping their MC for their reception is making a horrible mistake. I've MC'd plenty of weddings before, but I've never had to step into the role so strongly as what I did during COVID.
100%. I think we've all been to receptions where there's been a bad MC and it's like, ugh, it's just that sort of feeling. Yeah. I think, and then when you have a good MC, it's like things just run smoothly. Sometimes you don't even notice how well things go. That's
right.
That's because an MC's nailed their job. But in this situation, it feels almost essential to have someone who can really guide and direct everyone.
100%. Yeah, you know, just because there was we had our usual events take place in terms of speeches and the cake cutting and things like that, but in between those times when, you know, I'd play music and everybody was sort of sitting down, it did feel like it needed something else. It needed somebody to say, hey, this is what we're going to do now, and in between to lighten the mood with a story, with an anecdote, so it was in my role as a celebrant, it was extremely beneficial to have all of the information that I did about the couples, because I was able to draw on that, you know, from the information that I collected from them through our conversations, but also through the questionnaires that they do when I'm writing the ceremony. So I had a lot of stuff that I could draw on and create with during their reception, and that was really helpful. And I couldn't imagine that kind of a role being put on a guest. I really couldn't imagine, because it was a huge undertaking. It was, by the end of the night, I was thinking, even going into it, I knew it would be big, but I don't think I realized just how big it would be. Normally the MC part of the nights when I chill out, I kind of sit back, I'll stand up, make sure that things are going well, I introduce people when they're speaking, time keep, just make sure that that things move, that they're in the right order and that they move along nicely and in the correct direction. But with this, it was a whole different role. Yeah, it was hosting. It was being an entertainer and a host as well as doing all the other things.
That's really good for couples to know. So thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, and I'll let you answer this however you want, because you can answer this from so many different perspectives. What do you wish couples knew?
Yeah, it's a great question. I wish they knew that they can do whatever they want. I wish they knew that they can break away from expectation, and they can celebrate their day in whatever way they want. If they want to have a picnic, they can have a picnic. If they want to have their ceremony at 10 a.m., they can have it at 10 a.m. If they want to just go off with their parents and elope, and then have a big party later on, they can. I just feel like people have these. I think weddings become so stressful because there are such huge expectations on what a wedding should look and feel like, and people feel the pressure to live up to these expectations. And I just wish they knew that they didn't have to, and that there actually are none, and that all anybody wants to see is those two people happy and married. At the end of the day, that's what everybody wants to see, and that if that happens, in whatever way it happens, everyone will feel stoked for them.
Yeah, 100%. And this is my last question for you is, what is your best advice for couples?
Buy the Unholy Matrimony magazines.
Issue 4, coming out before Christmas.
Put it under your tree. No, well, look, okay, actually I do have some really, I would say, hire a great celebrant. It really makes so much difference. And if you've never been to a good ceremony, I'm sure you can't understand what I mean. But if you have been to a great ceremony, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, because a great celebrant will transform your wedding day. They will not only make you remember all the reasons why you want to get married to that person and why you love each other so much, but they will actually entertain your guests. It's such a, I actually see it now as not just this role, this where a formality is, where a formality takes place and boxes are ticked and legalities are signed off and all of that. I see the role of a celebrant now as being the role of an entertainer, and really putting everybody at ease and making them feel warm and welcome, and filling the room with like a genuine and authentic enthusiasm sense of enthusiasm for what's about to take place, making everybody feel that elation that you get from seeing two people in love, but in a way that's transformative. Because when you walk away from a great ceremony, you feel like you're on a high, and that's as opposed to feeling completely drained, which traditionally we saw that happening from ceremonies. So I would say hire a great celebrant, but beyond that, and I mean this with utmost sincerity, spend the money on a good photographer, because the celebrant can create all of those feels and can create all of those amazing moments. But if you've got, Uncle Joe photographing it because he's just bought his first DSLR and he's pretty tricky behind the clicker, you're going to miss it.
Yeah.
So invest in money. I shouldn't just say photographer and celebrant because there are so many components, but I would say investing in those two in particular will set you will set you off will set you in good stead to have a fantastic day. But invest your money in the things that are most important to you and forget about all of the things, all the other little in between things, really work out what's most important to you, prioritize those things and put your money behind those things. If that's music, then get an amazing band and pay the money for it. If it's food, if your food is get great food, whatever, talk to each other about what's most important to the two of you and invest in that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Annie. Thank you for coming and sharing with us. You've covered so many different areas. We've covered, unholy matrimony and sort of, I guess, that alternate wedding scene of not needing to stick to what everyone else is currently doing. But then there is also helping people plan for their weddings that are currently still in restrictions and could be for who knows how long. And that's some great advice there as well with the photographer and the celebrant as well. So thank you so much. We will make sure we put everything you need to find out Annie, her websites, for Lady Love and for Unholy Matrimony and for her DJing and for her MC, because she does it all. She's a one-woman band. She's nailing it. So Annie, thank you so much and really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks so much for having me, and good luck to everybody who's planning their wedding. And hopefully we can come out the other side of this real soon and just get back on the wedding train in the way that we once were.
100%. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed that. Have an incredible day, night, evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and we will see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it. Cause no one can do it like we do it, like we do it, like we do it.